for me. I am a little bit of loneliness, a little bit of disregard, handful of complaints, but I can't help the fact that everyone can see these scars. I am what I want you to want, what I want you to feel, and it's like no matter what I do, I can't convince you to just believe this is real. So let go, watching you turn your back, you always do. Face away and pretend that I'm not. I'll be here 'cause you're all that I got.
Good evening, everyone. We had one of the panelists sneak on right at the last second. Of course we did. For Top Table Talk Tuesdays, we are here again to talk all things Premier League football. And Happy New Year to everyone. Everyone on the panel, we've already done our Merry Christmas, Happy New Year's, etc. off screen. But great to have everyone back for the new year, halfway through the league season. Lots to talk about. How was everyone? Everyone all good?
Yeah. Dan, how are you? Life?
I'm buzzing, boys. I'm buzzing. Come on.
Tell us why. Tell us why.
Oh, that's so embarrassing. Like
you've just hired Rafinha, mate, right, on a 6.5 year deal.
Yeah,
Don't you even listen, Charlie. Grown up talk tonight. We'll leave you and the kids in the playpen. Yeah, we're not here to talk about Chelsea and the crash. We're here to talk about the class of '99. We're here to talk about the legend. We're here to talk about the saviour of Manchester United. So you, Rafinha, off you go.
Go on, say it, Rich. Give it a Giggsy. Go on, give it a Giggsy.
Give it Giggsy till the end of the season, boys.
I love it. So I know we briefly spoke about it last night, but you are absolutely buzzing then at the thought.
I said it.
Is it done though? Do you think it's done?
Pretty much, I think so.
Victor Romano said positive talks this evening.
I think so. And look. At the end of the day, United at the moment. You may say, I didn't even put my lights on. There we go. Better. It's been hell, and it's still going through hell at the moment because the fallout of this meteoric, massive divorce between Sir Jim, Wilcox, Barada, and of course Amorim has been absolutely catastrophic for the club. It's been catastrophic for the fans. You know, we were obviously sold this dream when Amorim come in, that he was going to do X, Y, Z. He ended up doing nothing. And like I said last night on Football's 12th Man, I actually backed him getting sacked. I did, because the football was absolutely shocking. And I know a lot of rival fans are going to do the whole, well, when you bring someone in to do, yeah, that's fine. And in theory, that is fine. You do spend the money, you do bring him in, and you do back him.
He wasn't sacked for results, though.
He has been, yeah, but he hasn't, though, has he, Charlie? He's been sacked because he called the board out.
That's what I mean. So he wasn't sacked for the results.
No, I agree. Yeah. That's fine. But all I'm saying is it was never going to work. This marriage was never going to work. The warning signs were there literally 2 months after when he went, I can't do anything with this team. You know, if they want me to quit, I'll quit. So I'm absolutely buzzing because this is what Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is going to do. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't going to win the Premier League with Manchester United. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer isn't going to be here for years and years. He's going to be here till the end of the season. The one thing we know with Ole is he will get in there. He will share the love with those players. The players will adore him. They will. They'll believe. He will bring that good feeling back with him, which is what we need more than anything at the moment. At the end of the season, thank you very much, Ole. Off you go into the sunset. That's all we need for him. That is all we need. I'm buzzing at the fact that I've been calling this for weeks as well, by the way. I've been saying bring back Ole. I said I'd take him back in a heartbeat. And this is it now. And I've seen the comments in the chat about the Steve Bruce, the Steve Bruce banter. Well, we don't do that. We don't take people like that. There's only 2 clubs on this chat that are silly enough to do that. We don't do that. So you can swivel on that. I'm sorry. I'll be honest with you. I've just had a banging stew that I made for me and the wife. I've just looked at my phone, seen that Ollie is pretty much done. I'm fucking loving life tonight, lads. Yeah, I'm buzzing.
Sorry, Dan. Did you say you had a banging stew or a bang
I did both, mate. I did both. I've got burns down there, mate.
That's even better.
Got some pseudocreme down there, mate.
Very English version of American Pie, that one would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I can neither confirm nor deny.
Can I just make it a quick point? I watched 12th Man last night. It was really good, and Errol made some great points about this particular thing. I know I've mentioned it so many times. Is these fraudulent coaches who must wow these idiot board members or club owners about this philosophy rubbish and how they're going to play this system and that system, and they've got no idea about how to deal with players, how to deal with the media, how to deal with personalities, and they somehow get these jobs like Russell Martin, like Amorim, like all these frauds who seem to get these jobs, and it's like, what? How have they managed to do it?
It's like it's that, what do they call it? It's the trendy thing to do the last few years, isn't it? It's been the trendy thing to do, young up and coming managers. And Pete made a great point last night where he said there's no good managers out there anymore. Like there's no managers. If all of our clubs sacked their managers, and 2 of ours have this week, by the way, if we all sacked our managers tomorrow, today, whatever, we wouldn't be sitting there with a plethora of world-class managers. You know, you go about 15, 20 years ago, these managers were absolutely incredible. You were buzzing you weren't buzzing at anyone who lost a job, but you'd sit there and go, look who we're linked with, vote. Look who we're linked with. Who have I got to be linked with? You lot are all laughing at me for being happy about fucking Ollie. What was I hoping for? Southgate or Fletcher? Do you know what I mean? I've just
this is it. It's an indictment on the managers, the quality of the managers, or the way the game has gone in terms of these head coaches, and the way that whenever a job comes up that needs someone to come in and steady the ship, Big Sam is still the talk. People still go after Big Sam or go after Harry.
You're all old enough. You're all old enough to remember. Adam, you might not be because you're devilishly young and handsome. But the inside joke: whenever there was a job available, Alan Kirbishley was always linked. Whatever happened to Alan
Kirbishley went to my school where I grew up, so I know Alan. Well, I met him once.
It's honestly, I mean, Emery is probably the closest to what he's got at Villa. And I suppose Eddie Howe's a little bit like that because of the falling outs he's had with some of the directors of football, because he wants it his way in a lot of ways. But Emery's probably, he tries to do everything. Like he's the coach and he's like the one who has the final say on everything, and he's like at the top of the tree apart from the owners. But there isn't many managers like in the true sense of the word anymore. In terms of like they wouldn't be around the training pitch too much. They would just deal with the personalities. They would deal with the press. There's not many of them anymore, and I kind of get the impression that the game needs those type of characters back. Like just the manager who can deal with these players and deal with these personalities. Give them a kick up the backside when they need to. Give them a arm around the shoulder when they need to.
You can't. It doesn't work now, though, does it?
An England manager, that guy.
I think a younger generation, like this Gen Z or Gen Alpha, whatever. I think they like the leadership. I think they like this kind of strong personality, just to be like, right,
with it,
this is
though.
what you want to do.
We can't. You see Mourinho come in like 2004 after Porto. The way they're like some of the stories about the way that he managed and the way you just couldn't do that in this day and age. I'm sure some of the things with Ferguson.
Someone will do it. Someone just won't care about the rules and just do it.
You just can't do it anymore. And but that's the thing. I think you're stuck now with managers where you're in a transition between sort of generations. So you've had like the Mourinhos, and obviously Pep's still here, and Klopp doesn't really manage anymore. But then the next level of managers coming through isn't quite there. Like the next
Charlie, do you know what it is? And Pete, I watched the show back last night and I agreed with you at the time. Then when I watched it back, I thought, actually, Pete, you're wrong there a little bit. It was the comment about players have everything done for them. And actually, when you look at the era that we're all from, those boys come from YTS, cleaning the kits, helping the kit man. They were grounded, and that's why I think the management back then, the manager was the fatherly figure. He was the boss. You never pissed the boss off, and if you did, big trouble. Whereas now, I agree with that sentiment what you say, because now that is correct. You're looking at, I think I saw, was it United or City? They've got a young lad on 25 grand, a teenager, like a under 16, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's JJ Gabriel or someone like that. I don't know if it's someone, but
For you, you mean that?
yeah, but the point
Was it Shea Lacey?
Yeah, Shea Lacey's 18, 19. But the point I'm making here is, rivalry aside, this is the biggest. There's loads of problems with our sport, but the biggest problem with our sport now is the fact that these kids are brought. They have agents when they're 13, 14 years old. They're then told that by the agents, "I'm going to take you to the top, and you may need to shit all over your hometown club. You may need to shit all over this, that, and the other. You may need to throw the manager under the bus, but I will get you to the top." And what normally happens is they will get all of these first contracts, which the agent will go, "Thank you very much. There's my commission." A lot of these lads might not make it, and what happens then? The agent goes, "Off you go, ta-ra."
Do you know what the bigger problem is, though? Do you know what the bigger problem is? Right, is that the traditional manager doesn't exist anymore. Everybody's a head coach, and it's sporting directors that are basically the most powerful people at football clubs. They run the club. So at the end of the day, right, the manager can only work with what he's given. So the sporting director is providing with a squad that's not good enough. It's the manager that always pays the price for it. The sporting directors have got way too much power now in today's day and game. Managers don't really exist for it in press conferences, they don't answer for it either. No. And managers don't really exist anymore in the traditional sense. You get a few. Pep's probably a manager. Luis Enrique at PSG.
Emery's a manager.
And Emery. But like everyone now is pretty much a head coach. And so more important than your manager, the sporting director is the most important appointment to get right in the football club these days.
Yeah. Can you think of any other job in the world, Pete? I don't mean to cut you off, where the manager typically earns less than the people he's managing? Because that's what the reality is. And I think it comes down to simple as that. Why are you going to take orders from someone that is paid less than you and basically is at more risk of getting fired than you are? I think it's
precisely. And the coach is very much having to walk this fine line of keeping these players on side and treating them in kid gloves and all that. Because of that, Adam, right, because this player could throw you under the bus.
Power.
They can have a word with the sporting director. They can have a word with the owner, the chairman. I know you used to have that a little bit, Roy Keane and John Terry and that.
Well, John Terry, that thing that got reprinted again the other day, right? Where he talked about Villas Boas on the plane, and now he's like, "I ain't going if you don't let me sit in first class." It's like, well,
but Aaron, who's Aaron? Sorry,
Caldworth.
So no. But there's that other story, isn't there, from Hodgson about Gerrard and Carragher when he got sacked, and they walked into him and said, "Your problem was you tried to manage us." Hello, that's his job. That's his job, lad. Do you know what I mean? To coin Roy Keane here, that's his job. Do you know what I mean? That is his fucking job. So, unfortunately, nowadays managers are there to be on the sideline, to take the abuse, to pick the teams, to get the bollockings from us, from the pundits, and all of that. The players and the people above and the agents, they run this game now. It's as simple as that.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we've obviously talked about Man United. Looks like Ollie's going to be in until the end of the season. Dan's very, very happy. But I need to ask Charlie, your new manager is in this hot seat now. Are you happy with your appointment? Matisse, aka Liam Rossini, is now your manager till the end of the season. Maybe if he makes it that long, 6-year contract.
He'd be lucky to see out 2 years of that. I don't pay any attention to the contract lengths.
So why give him that contract? Because you're going to have to pay that off.
I don't know. Maybe it's a sign that you believe in him. I've got absolutely no idea. But everyone knows damn well he's getting nowhere near seeing out the 6 years on that contract. Look, we need him to do well. I want him to do well because if he does well, Chelsea does well, and that's ultimately what all Chelsea fans want. There's no excitement around the appointment. There's no sort of thinking, oh, this is a really good manager. This is someone who's got some promise. Sure, I think he comes from what I've listened to him, how he speaks, how he comes across. He comes across as a very nice guy. He's likable, but that's one part of it. But actually, have you got the credentials? Have you got the abilities to step up from Strasbourg, where the environment is totally different? There's no pressure. It's easy to develop players like Barcos, like Moreiras and stuff in Liga, where there's no pressure on, where they've not got big egos, and where the time to develop them is allowed. I'm going to be interested to see how does he come in and deal with the pressure in the Premier League. How does he go about improving a Cole Palmer, a Caicedo, a Garnacho, a Gittins, all at the same time? It's easy to develop one or two players, but developing them all at the same time. Yes, you know, he's worked with young players and stuff, and I appreciate that. But ultimately, for me, this is, I understand why he's taken it, but this is, he has to get Champions League football. The club have briefed tonight that Champions League, quote unquote, is a critical target. So already, he has to get Champions League football. So if he doesn't, this is why I've said, like, various times. I know it would never work like this, but he should have been on a 6-month contract until the end of the season. If you get Champions League football, then your deal will extend for 2 years or whatever it might be. I almost admire him for taking this on, knowing how difficult it is. We've seen managers with a lot more experience than him go to top clubs and
what's the downside? He's going to get paid out for 6 years.
Yeah,
Screws it up. That's why he's got a 6-year contract.
Yeah,
his agent.
And you've seen it with Thomas Frank, very good manager. He goes to Tottenham. It's not working for him. Graham Potter, had a great reputation, goes to Chelsea. Doesn't work for him. We've seen these managers who are at lesser clubs, and when they make the step up to the big clubs, very few of them actually work out. I mean, I've not got the research to hand or whatever, but I'd be very interested to see how many managers have actually gone from, say, a lesser club and made a step up and have been a success. Look, Maresca, okay, Leicester to Chelsea, he was successful last season, but in terms of a medium to long-term success over maybe 3 or 4 seasons, there's not many that have stepped up, certainly in recent times, from
Sir Alex Ferguson, mate. Aberdeen to Manchester United.
Yeah, I mean, he's
another one, Charlie. Look, if it doesn't work out, you can always come back.
But look, Charlie, do you know? I was talking to a Chelsea lad at work today about this, and I had this. I mean, you probably know this already. This shocking revelation that's finally actually hit me with Chelsea. Don't worry, I'm not going down to your shit thing. You don't need me to tell you that. It's the fact that your club now, as much as mine's a mess, we know mine's a mess, but your club now is just so focused on bringing in young talent, turning a profit. That's all they care about. I genuinely don't think they even want to win the league.
Their actions don't match up to that. You know,
they don't.
And this is the thing. It's all very well saying, "Oh, we want to win. We're focused on having long-term stability." Well, you're on your 5th manager now in less than 4 years that you've been here, so that's going really well. There is no project without stability. There's no project if you're changing the manager every 12 to 18 months. That just doesn't exist. And the big issue for me is that everything Chelsea do is based on a complete gamble. The players we're signing, not like 90% of them, are based on a gamble of them becoming as good as what the data says. And now we're doing exactly the same with managers. You can't have it both ways. For me, you either have an experienced squad, a top quality squad where you can get away with having maybe a slightly less experienced manager, or you have the experienced manager with a slightly less experienced squad to make up for that gap. You can't have learning on the job manager, learning on the job 3/4 of the squad, learning on the job sporting directors who are way out of their depth and shouldn't even be in this position in the first place. And then you've got an ownership who don't know anything about football. So the whole premise of Chelsea right now is basically done on expectation and hope that these people will become as good as you expect them to be, which is not a way to run a football club.
Apart from that, it's all good.
Think of the positivity. You've got to think positive here. If Rossini doesn't work out, Gary O'Neill will be there. And then
I was literally about to say the same thing.
Gary O'Neill waiting in the wings.
You can't do that because Gary O'Neill doesn't have a strong enough Brighton connection. The fact that the obsession is genuinely like troublesome at this particular point. It's the all of the people that hired him. The fact is, the negotiation happened with Liam Rossini. So Liam Rossini, ex-Brighton player. He was tipped, hotly tipped as a potential replacement in the future if Hertzler were to leave. Right, he
coached the 23s, didn't he?
I believe so. Yeah, but the bigger thing that I'm saying is the negotiation happened with the sporting director for Strasbourg, David Weir, who just got fired from Brighton 2 months ago. So it was Brighton executives, former Brighton executives at Chelsea, negotiating with a former Brighton player and a former Brighton sporting director over a club that you essentially sort of own under the same corporate entity. I think it's just
it's what it is a massive Ponzi scheme. It's just everyone's just employing their mates. Like the connection between all the sporting directors are all Brighton based. Liam Rossini obviously knows Win Stanley from Brighton when he was coaching the 23s. He knows Lawrence Stewart from there. He knows Lawrence Stewart, who was a young analyst when he was managing Hull City at the time. He knows Sam Jewell from Brighton. It's all jobs for the boys mentality. And Man United have had that accusation leveled at them in the past. But Chelsea's exactly the same. Everybody in the sporting hierarchy is jobs for the boys. There's not a single person in that club right now at Chelsea, in the higher positions, who hasn't either got connections to Brighton, connections to Monaco, connections to Manchester City, or connections to Southampton. And then all those people all know each other before that anyway. It's just a job for the boys mentality. It's
because the ownership, as you said, the ownership don't know anything. So they give it to people they think they know something to, and then they just give it to their mates. It's a failure of the ownership.
Basically, what they've done is, right, when they did one of those business summit things in America, like when they very first kind of took over maybe a few months or a year in or whatever. And they basically said that they think Brighton's one of the best run clubs, which is true. But then they've literally taken that and thought, right, we're just going to recreate Brighton on a bigger scale.
With more money.
And so we're just going to appoint all their staff.
And sign all of Brighton's players.
Yeah, and then they've thought, oh, City are quite good as well. Let's take everyone connected to Man City, and then let's take most of the players that have come through the academy there. Like there's no real plan. They pretend they make out there's a plan. There is no plan. Like they can talk about this idea, this project, this plan, but until you actually see it working, there's actually nothing to believe in.
The worst thing is you mentioned there is the kind of gaslighting of the fans as well. It's like, oh, we're here for the long-term project and we want success. And you've just said the actions are just nowhere near matching the words. So it's completely
World champions, which is
2 seconds.
It's a really interesting point that you've made with regards to Brighton's situation, is because everyone talks about, and quite rightly, because they've got a lot of money behind them, they've made a lot of big sales, etc., etc. But isn't this stopping Brighton from actually progressing? Because every time they do something good, it just gets ripped from underneath them, and then they've kind of got to start all over again.
I think they've accepted that's what they are, Pete. I think they've kind of accepted that's kind of the club that they are. Not that they can't push on to achieve more, but I feel like Brighton, maybe Tony Bloom, that have come to a realization that, look, what we're doing is very profitable. You know, we're well run. We find these players. We've got an amazing scouting system. We pick managers and whatnot or whatever, and they kind of go on with that cycle. I'm not sure if Brighton's actually, and it is true, Pete, Brighton's not set up or run in a way that would enable them to sort of really push themselves higher up to the table, qualifying for Europe on a more regular basis. I mean, I might be wrong on that, but
and this is what we're losing here. This is what we're losing here with football, and this is why I love the fact that Aston Villa and Newcastle United are trying to achieve that, and we're trying to be stopped being able to achieve that. PSL or the rest of it, and people frown upon it, but it's a reality, because you look at certain teams now. You look at and Dan, if you're honest, the Glazers, they haven't really looked to really push your club on and really try and make you the team that you were under. Exactly.
Well, you look at the ground, you look at the lack of investment in facilities. It's crazy at Man United.
You look at Tottenham. Tottenham are also a very well-run club in terms of finances, etc., etc. They've never really kicked on when they should be, because they're apparently this top six that everyone keeps telling us about, but they've just been very happy to just sit there and just be in the top four and play Champions League football every season and just be happy with it. You look at other teams in and around the Premier League that are just quite happy to be where they are and not really kick on. But it's the Newcastles, it's the Aston Villas that are really trying to push it on. And we've actually got owners that want to be the best. Man City kind of started that process by being where they are, and they still want to be the best every year. Arsenal, how many years have Arsenal fans been pushing for Arsenal to invest in their club, to throw money in, to get the players that they can finally be in a position to win the league? And how long has it taken them? It's taken them years of pressure on their owner to finally give in to invest in their club.
It's going to be amazing when Villa pip them to the post as well, isn't it?
I mean, the thing is,
my last point on that is that Chelsea and their owners, from the point that you just made, Dan, right at the beginning, look like they're going down that safety route, that they don't want the team to be back fighting for titles. Don, Charlie, Andrew are all wanting to be back at the table, fighting at the top, Champions Leagues, Premier Leagues, fighting with the big boys. But their owners are doing the absolute opposite. They're giving enough money to tick them over to make it look like they're investing, but they're investing completely wrong, all in young players, like we've just said, hoarding young players, then selling them off to try and make a profit. They're not looking to really properly kick the team on. And I'll be honest with you, I actually believe that they brought Cole Palmer to do exactly the same. It just turns out that Cole Palmer is actually a special player and is actually turned into a special player, although not having a good season right now. I think he was one that was very lucky in terms of your signings that you've made. That's actually turned out to be something half decent.
I think I got to run here in a second, but I do want to answer the point that the question you asked about the Brighton and Chelsea modelling. Is it going to fail because it gets reset every few years? I think the difference, the Chelsea one, is that they've looked at it and gone, oh, hold on, let's just do that with a lot more money, meaning we do every part up until the bit where we sell the player on. So we keep them. So we get these young players, we sign them up for 8 years, and then we just keep them. And then that's our model. We become this excellent club over this time, and we never have to rebuild and reset. I think that's the premise. I disagree a little bit with this idea that you sort of got these plucky clubs trying to, do it the right way. I mean, Villa owned by the richest guy in Egypt. Newcastle, you guys know your ownership setup. Like it's not like we're in a situation where it's kind of, oh, these guys have come in and they're doing it the right way. There's just a shit ton of money. There's just a shit ton of money.
That was my point. Adam. My point is that these two teams actually want to win. We want to be there. And that's the point that I was making, not about the money that's been thrown in or whatever. Is that these owners actually have come in and invested a hell of a lot of money in both clubs because they want to be at the top. They want to be fighting for titles. They want to be at the top end of the table. They've got the ambition, and we've been told continuously, both ownerships have been told they want to be there. And the point I'm making is that other clubs don't seem to want that and have that same drive to want to be at the top and fight and win titles and etc. The fans do. The players probably do. But I'm not quite sure the owners feel.
Garnacho does. He's more interested in his hair and posing on Instagram.
I think there is.
I will absolutely. It would be just beautiful if we finish ahead of Chelsea, just so that little twat can go, oh, you're ahead of us. I hate that lad so much. I hate him, Charlie. And the thing is, you will grow to feel exactly the same as me, mate. You really will, because. This is the other thing with Rafinha. Good luck trying to coach him, mate. Good luck trying to coach bloody Alejandro Garnacho and his chavvy brother who looks like he's dressed to go to court whenever you see him on camera. You've got so many problems there. I actually think, Pete, you're right. I think the problem is at the moment the clubs that want to do business, the clubs that want to essentially climb that table and be top of the pile. Hands are tied. You're always going to have clubs like Chelsea, like United, that are always going to be fluctuating up and down, up and down. It all just depends. I mean, to be honest, I'll ask you three lads this. I think your problem now is, have you got the right manager to now take to move on and do that? Because we can all have the joke. And I remember watching the stream where you three were absolutely furious, and you were talking about what games that he needed to stay in the job, and I just kind of feel like it's not a fairy tale that's gone wrong, because I think he did his job in keeping you up and then taking you to your first cup win. But I don't think that Eddie Howe is the guy now. I think you let him see out the season. I think there's no problem doing that. I think it's respectful to do that because he has done so much for you, but. You look at the news of Luis Enrique leaving he's potentially leaving PSG now because he wants a new challenge. People in the chat are going, on Twitter are going, United should be all over this. If I was Newcastle, I'd already be talking. I'd be going straight in there and saying, look, come and sort us out. Come and do something for us. You know that this manager, by the way, Enrique, he doesn't like arrogance. He doesn't like the attitudes. He bombed out so many players from that PSG squad that you look at and go, you must be mad getting rid of these people.
Can you get rid of Messi?
He got rid of. I think. Yeah, he got rid of Messi. Mbappe. Well, Mbappe was going anyway.
Neymar.
Donnarumma.
Yeah,
you bin Donnarumma off straight away. So I'd be all over that.
Like to take the next step, like with these like quote unquote projects, right? There's always the first guy that comes in, kind of stabilizes things, pushes on a bit, and then he's taken it as far as he can go. I agree with you, Dan. I don't see how Eddie Howe can do any better at Newcastle than he has done. I just don't see how he improves or how it gets any better. The away form is...
Sorry, Charlie, this comment here. This comment here. Sorry, Matt. I'm sorry to butt in. This comment here by Nikon Yan. Sorry if I've got your name wrong. Apologies. Where else can Eddie Howe? And I'll pose this to you three up top. Where do you see Eddie Howe taking you if he stays? Do you think you could win a Champions League with him?
That's probably getting a bit of ahead of ourselves.
I'm asking the question.
The squad's not good enough to do that, though. The squad's not good enough to do that.
He's not good enough to do. He's not going to win you a Premier League. He might win you an FA Cup. He ain't going to win you the Premier League or the Champions League. And that is me. That's not me taking the mick out of Eddie Howe. That is us talking about about a manager going as far as they can, and then you evolve. You take that next step. Now, United have been laughed at for years. Chelsea have been laughed at for years because both of our clubs at so many times have gone, we've got him. We've got the guy now. Ten Hag for us. Amorim for us. With Chelsea, everyone thought Maresca was that young coach that was going to push up. Graham Potter. You can put that on there. But this is where...
It's news today as well.
No, it's fine. But this is what I'm talking about. You guys now, at the end of the season, you shake hands with him. You say, thank you so much, Eddie. We've got the memories. He might get you Champions League this season. We had a very big chat about that last night. And then I think now, to coin the phrase from American Pie, to the next step. Do you know what I mean? And you move forward to the next step.
We do that. We do every one of our mates' weddings. We always do that to the next step. Do it all the time. A little bit hat tip to American Pie. Chris, come in with that one because it's an interesting conversation. It is. It's a good one.
Yeah, do you know what? I mean, the whole show's been really interesting, to be honest, because everything is so bizarre at the minute, isn't it? With the manager, I never thought I would see Dan like overjoyed with Ollie. I completely get it, and I understand because Amorim wasn't working. But similar with Charlie as well. When we were talking about Liam Rosenior. And this has been, boys, to put it back to Newcastle, this has been the problem. Our fan base of late has been Eddie Howe out, get him out. We need, and as a three, collectively, we've all said, but the big issue is, who do you bring in? Who comes in to do what Eddie Howe is doing at the moment? If anything, is it something we look on in the summer and make a change? Possibly. But I've left this comment up, particularly from Johnny Toon for Life, and this is something, again, that we've touched on when he's talking about elite managers at Newcastle. And some of you may say, well, what do you mean his hands are tied financially? In recent times, we've got away with it a little bit because of selling the likes of Alexander Isak. But going forward, we can't keep doing that year on year, because if we do, then we're going to struggle to then lift our levels to get, that consistent Brighton. Champions League. Yeah, exactly. There comes a point where you let too many go, and then you end up just becoming an average mid-table side, because if the players that you're bringing in aren't of the required quality, you'd end up, mid-table striving, to get into the European
thing is, I always find it difficult when there's a club looking to break in what you would call to the established sort of break into the kind of a top establishment, for want of a better phrase.
The financial six.
It's very, very difficult, because you need to find a quality of player that similar to what those clubs have got. But the problem is, and you boys will know this, is that if you're going for a player and that player has got an option of a Chelsea, a Man United, or a Man City or whatever, or Liverpool, like 9 times out of 10, they're going to pick those clubs over going to Newcastle. So Newcastle are in a difficult situation where they need to be going for top players, but then they also need to be but then they don't want to be in a situation where they're just missing out every time because they'd rather go to those other clubs. Newcastle need to sort of go back to maybe what they did in that, whenever that January was, a few Januaries ago, where they got a Bruno Guimaraes. They need to go and find the next Bruno G or the next Tonali or these players that before these other clubs do. And that is difficult. It is hard.
You only have to look at what happened this summer. We're trying to do that.
Yeah.
But then, for example, with Brian Mbeumo, he ends up going to Man United. Mateus Cunha to Man United. João Pedro to Chelsea. Liam Delap
How much did you spend in summer?
We are trying to do that, but the problem is that a lot of clubs like Man United, Chelsea, Tottenham's, etc., they have a lot greater financial strength than Newcastle United, and they're looking and going, "Oh, okay, that's a player that Newcastle United are after." They're in a fight. You aren't always going to win that battle because you've got more money, you can offer more wages. It's not necessarily about
the other thing to City as well. I obviously live in Newcastle. I absolutely love Newcastle.
I love it as well.
I think it's the best city in the country personally, but it's for players. If they're London, Manchester, or Newcastle, they're going to go London or Manchester. That's just the fact. Where I think you guys, and being up here for so many years, I am flabbergasted. I'm amazed that Sunderland and Middlesbrough have got better academies.
Yeah.
That's what I'm amazed at. And you guys don't sign players. You can't attract the top players, the young players. Like the Northeast was the place for football, was the hotbed in all the cliches where all the best players were brought up. They all came from Wallsend Boys Club. They all went to Newcastle. And now in this FFP world, that's what you've got to do. You've got to get some players, homegrown players, or sign players.
Who's the last
14, 15, and get the best players. What? Yeah, that's what you've got to do because that's what makes you. That's what makes you money.
How much did you spend this summer, Pete?
I think just under 250. I think it was.
See, people are saying
how
you can. People are saying how can you attract these big managers? Luis Enrique only spent what? 150, 160.
Yeah, but look what he was working with.
I know what you're going to say. Go on.
What I was going to say was, he's obviously had to. PSG, we know are stupidly rich, but they've had to sell to buy because they've had to essentially tighten the purse strings. This is a manager that hasn't gone to PSG and gone 150, 100 million. He's been looking at players that are like 35, 40 million. There's a couple of 60 million euros in there. There's a 70 million euro in there. But name a Premier League manager, a Premier League team that doesn't do that. I think with Luis Enrique, you're looking at a bloke that knows his stuff about football. Like I said, he goes in there, he gets rid of all the superstars, all of the egos. He doesn't want that. He rebuilds. I kind of feel like Enrique at this point of Newcastle, now that obviously the PSR is starting to do what it's doing and you are able to spend bits and pieces, I think he is the guy that you literally go and bang that door and say, "You want another challenge? Come over here." I tell you what, we'll even get you a stint on Geordie Shore.
If Eddie Howe was to leave in the summer, absolutely that would be like a no-brainer. I think for any Newcastle fan, Luis Enrique, what he's done at PSG. I've watched him very closely. Obviously, my brother supporting the team. I just spend a lot more time watching them than normal. Like I just love what he's managed to create at PSG. Like you said, he got rid of all the superstars. He's created a winning team and not spent a lot of money, but they're on a lot of money in terms of wages. And they have the ability to be able to go down that route and be able to put players away, knowing that they're going to win trophies every season and know that they're going to compete in the Champions League pretty much every season. The one thing I've always said about the next step for Newcastle United after Eddie Howe is that who do you attract? Because PSR is real. We've already been pinched by that a couple of years ago. We may well be pinched by that again if we don't sell well. And this is going to be a really big balancing act, which I think Villa suffered this summer off the back of it. Yes, you bounced back and done really well, but no doubt in the next couple of years, we could both be in a situation where we're back in that. And how do you attract to Luis Enrique knowing that potentially happen in a couple of years' time, that you're maybe going to have to sell a Sandro Tonali, or you're maybe going to have to sell somebody else of that ilk, that top level type player, just to keep yourself running. Like, I'm not sure we could attract a manager like that to Newcastle United as much as I'd want it, because I'm not sure that we'd have the finances that a top manager like that would want to work with. And that's the big issue. That's the big point. That if we could get past that, absolutely. And I'll be honest with you, Dan, I think if we had the finances to be able to attract a top manager, I actually think it might have already happened already. I think it might have already happened before. This time last year, when we're in our lull, I say maybe not this time last year, but November into December last year, 24 into 25, when we're in a really low moment, when we lost against Brentford, and it was like a horrible moment, like something had to change. There was big talk about Eddie Howe and his job then. If we had the capacity to go out and get a top manager then, I think Newcastle United, the ownership, would have done it. I think if we'd have carried on in a bad run in this and we had the finances behind us to do it, we'd have gone and done it. But Eddie Howe is a very good coach, first and foremost. He can coach players to play a certain way and do it well on the pitch. He's already proven he's been able to make players better, right? We could go through the list of players that have already improved under his management. That's the thing. Some managers now in the top end of the world aren't good on the coaching side, aren't good on the training pitch. They're just good at being able to pick the right players, sign the right, and put them in.
Sorry, Pete, go on.
No, that was just a bit to finish off, mate. Go for it.
See, I was going to say that would be my only point around Eddie Howe and the next step or the next level. Like, we keep, as Villa supporters, we keep saying, how is Unai Emery getting that little bit more out of John McGinn? How is he getting that bit more out of Ezri Konsa? How does he keep making Morgan Rogers better? How does he keep making all these players that were terrible under Steven Gerrard? Matty Cash, look how good he's been this season. How does he keep setting them up to? And it could, some of it is coaching, some of it's the system, some of it is the expectation that he's putting on these players, the standards that he's expecting of them. And all the players keep talking about with Unai Emery is the detail that he goes in, the expectations that he has on the players, and what they face if they don't meet those expectations. Now, that is my only point on Eddie Howe. He's a very good coach, as I say, but can he can make players better, but can he get the extra bit out of them? Can he get the extra bit out of even a Tonali or a Bruno or a Joe Linton? Some of these players who've done brilliant for you, but can he get, like, it doesn't have to be about signing more players. Can he, is he nasty enough? Is he ruthless enough? Has he got that killer instinct enough to get an extra 5-10% out of the players that he's already got? Because, as I say, with Unai, he's got that because the players talk about it every single time that they're interviewed.
I mean, what names, like, obviously I know he's still here, but like, what clubs obviously always contingency plan and whatnot, like what sort of names are potentially even touted or Newcastle fans like speaking about as potential replacements? It's all very well saying, like we've been saying, you know, he probably, I think he probably has reached kind of the end of the road, but what kind of names are being spoken about potentially?
But before we go there, Charlie, right? We have a manager. And I want to go back on something else and his name is Eddie Howe. We want to go back on something else you said pretty much about 20 minutes ago, is that the most important person at the club is the technical director, sports director. We've had a succession of bad appointments, or it's not working out with Dan Ashford going off. Paul Mitchell didn't work out either. We've now got someone who maybe Eddie picked him himself, but he got someone for Eddie Howe to work with. And also going back on the other point about, and Pete mentioned that what happened in the summer, we were consumed by other clubs for players we had pinpointed. We need to find those gems, and the scouting team need to find those gems. It's the only way we're going to have a leg up, and maybe find another Bruno or find some gems that we can kick us on into that next level. But sorry, back to your question. We did talk about a few names on previous shows. There was a question that came to us. We each had a different name in mind, but it'll chop and change. But I don't think we're going to go into mad detail on replacements until we feel that there's a need.
Well, you've got a couple of games now, so everything's rosy in the garden.
And I'm sorry, I can't take that, because I watched the show when you lot were absolutely fuming. I watched it. You guys were like, "Hang on a minute, is this working?" So I think we're right to ask these questions, and I think we're also,
we do this every season.
Right.
We did it last season.
Yeah. No, I take that, and like, there's a lot of people in the chat that are very, very angry at me and calling me entitled. First of all, this is an opinion show. This is my opinion, okay? And unfortunately, you don't like it. That's fine. This is football, but I don't think it's wrong for myself, Charlie, and Rich to be asking the question: has this manager gone as far as he can go? Because I'll tell you a little story. my manager, who I'm hoping comes back now, and I'm going to make myself sound the right joke here. Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, when he finished third, second, yeah, put him up. They should have acted then and brought a top coach in then. Manchester United absolutely should have. They didn't. There will always be that question. If Arteta doesn't win the Premier League, should Arsenal have done this 18 months ago? Brought that manager in to take him to the next level. There's only one manager in two managers in the Premier League that you can really look at and go, they don't need upgrading, and that's Aston Villa and Man City, because they're two managers with identity that have complete respect to the players, of the club, of the fans. So I think it's a genuine question, and I get you have had a good upturn in form, but do you know something? Newcastle, like Manchester United, are very lucky this season. We are, because if this season wasn't the season it normally is, where teams are consistently going up and pushing away, where would we have been then? You got to remember, how many points are you behind us at the moment? 3? Is it 3?
Mate, it's 4 points between 5th and 14th.
So Newcastle at the moment, Newcastle are benching.
They were 1 or 2 points behind you, I think. 2.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if Liverpool were doing what Liverpool normally do, if who else am I thinking? Brighton have been quite indifferent. Chelsea. This could have been, you guys could have been looking at this going, crap, you know what I mean? Champions League is way out this season. So I think it's a question. It's a question is all I'm asking. I apologise if you don't like it.
Dan, it's an absolutely fair question. And we're not kind of kicking it down the road or not necessarily not trying to answer it. The point is that there's from our perspective as Newcastle fans, there's context to it. I think there's context to it. And I think it's important to have that context to it. For me, with Eddie Howe, I'll be honest with you, I don't know whether he's the man that can take us forward or not. I don't personally know whether he can take us to that next level in being a consistent team that are in the Champions League and then fighting for the title. But we'll see this season, because the one thing I've always said to you, and I've said to the lads on Loaded when we've done our shows, is that the absolute minimum that we need to do in order to progress the team, not minimum as an expectation for the season, but in order, if we want to see progression, the minimum is we finish 5th and get Champions League. We have to get back-to-back Champions League. Yeah, we do. Back-to-back Champions League it helps us. It helps me to understand where we're going in 2 ways. If we get Champions League this season, it means that we've been able to do back-to-back Champions League. The money that's generated off the back of that allows us to be able to go into the next phase for Newcastle United in terms of the revenue and being able to spend money, being able to put wages on the table that we've not been able to do with certain players, what we weren't able to do with Alexander Isak, and go, right, here's money for a top player or two to come in and be the real difference makers. And then it's a case of, right, now we've got that generation of money. Now we've got Eddie Howe has got the finances in place. We can move on a couple of these players that we probably kept for the sake of it, but now we can get rid of them and really kick on. And then it's a question of, right, now what can you do, Eddie Howe? What can you do in that moment? But I can't say with any I can do that until this next phase happens.
But do you know something? I look, and I will say this: I want Manchester United to win everything. I want them to win an egg race. But if you're asking me if I want to see Eddie Howe win the Premier League, of course I want an Englishman to win an Englishman has never won the Premier League. He is the best chance.
Maybe Liam Rosenior. Maybe Liam Rosenior.
But I want that. Of course I do. My dream for Eddie Howe is he goes and breaks that duct. He wins the Premier League. Then he takes on England and does it with England. Of course we do. But look. There are. I actually think low key. There's so much put, and we're on a Newcastle channel, so the Newcastle. I'm not gonna disrespect the people in the chat and saying that you know it's redundant, because it isn't. But because of Chelsea being in a mess, because of Manchester United in a mess, I think sometimes that takes over what's happening with Newcastle, with the sporting director trying to get people in. Not saying the club's a mess. What I'm saying is the hardships that Newcastle face because of our clubs being run like they are. We take the major headlines with that. And I think that's what people forget. Now, again, Eddie Howe, go and win something. Go and absolutely do it. Because out of all of the clubs at the top, you know, with the Chelseas, with the Arsenals, the Liverpool Cities, do you think I want any of them to win a major trophy? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'd see Newcastle do it year in, year out if it meant United couldn't do it. But I just asked that question again.
Yeah, but
I think the next 5 months for Eddie Howe, crucial. From the outside looking in, crucial.
But that's the one. But that back-to-back Champions League that you're talking about, that's the missing link for these clubs like Villa's, like Newcastle, to really get, because anyone can put a season together, a one-off season where they get into the Champions League, and then you never really see them follow it up. It might be every other season, or it might be a 2-season gap. That is the number one key thing to attracting players, to getting a better caliber of player, and to establishing yourself more at the top end of the table. You have to get Champions League on a consistent basis, and that's got to be the aim for the Villas and for the Newcastles, because players will look at it and think, right, this team's got Champions League 3 or 4 seasons in a row. I'm probably going to be playing Champions League for a number of years here. But if they see, they've done 1 year, but then they dropped out for a year, and then they were back in, and they missed out for 2 years, that really affects your ability to attract players.
These players do not want to come to a team like Newcastle United, with all due respect, if they have no guarantee that they're going to be playing Champions League football next season.
Correct.
These top players, this is why we sold a vision to. I'm going off on a tangent to one player here. We sold a vision to Sandro Tonali when he signed for Newcastle United when we got Champions League. We sold a vision to him that this is where we're going to be moving forward, and we're going to kick on. And obviously, he had his ban and all the rest of it, and we didn't get Champions League that season. But then we've hit back, and he came and was a big part of us getting Champions League again. This lad will not want to stay out the Champions League very long. So this is it. He's playing Champions League this season. He's going to be wanting to play Champions League again, because you know what? He came from playing Champions League. Yeah. At AC Milan, he was in the semi-finals of the Champions League the season that we signed him. So he's only known playing at the top level. We need to keep players like that.
Yeah, so it works both ways. It works both ways, Pete. It's not just, it's not just signing players. It's also keeping the existing players in the first place. Like, it's exactly the same for us to a certain extent. If we miss out on the Champions League this year, which is a possibility, you're going to have questions about Cole Palmer thinking, hang on a second, this isn't what I was told when I joined there. You're going to have players questioning whether the club is the right place for them. And these top players want to be playing Champions League football year in, year out. And if they're not, they'll go somewhere else where they can. Like, the trophies are all great and stuff. Like, for Newcastle, it's obviously fantastic. For Villa, it would be fantastic. But in terms of, for the club, being in Champions League football year in, year out, that probably means more than any trophy from a club perspective. For the fans, maybe not. But, you know, that is the number one thing. They have to be able to put back-to-back seasons together when you can finish top 5. And you could argue now it's actually easier because there's a 5th place now, and the quality of the league, particularly this year and even last year to an extent, is not good.
No,
I think he's learned his lesson. I think he's learned his lesson in the first time in Champions League.
Do you know when you say that?
You know he's got to leave soon. So
I've got to leave in a sec. I mean, I'll leave on a note about Villa, but when people say the quality of the league's not as good, is that because Villa are in second? Or no. Is it I don't get this, or is it because Tottenham are low down in the league?
In terms of, there's like, you got Liverpool, so you got Arsenal and Man City and Villa doing exceptionally well, but then Liverpool.
That always happens every season. There's always 2 or 3 teams that break away. It just seems to me it's because it's not Liverpool.
No, because in terms of, like, then you look at the like Chelsea should not, after 20 games in the Premier League, Chelsea or whatever shouldn't be 4 points above 14th place. There shouldn't be, like, there should be more.
Does that mean because the leagues? But is that the league quality, or is that just because the other teams are better are getting better so that they can compete with those teams more?
I think the whole standard's to shit. I think the whole standard of play in the Premier League shit. I think I watched Rich. We're definitely
very enjoyable games.
We're definitely similar age. We 20 years ago, and Pete and the other boys, Charlie, I don't know how much Nivea you use, mate, but 20 years ago, do you remember how electrifying the Premier League was?
No, I get that. Like, in terms of
boring,
in terms of the way that we always go back about how good the strikers were and how many, you had strikers that were scoring 25 goals a season that couldn't get into the England team and all that sort of stuff. So I totally understand that. There's so many players that are coached into oblivion in terms of what they're allowed to do, and you see it all the time where teams get a corner
in their own attacking area, and rather than putting it back into the box to keep the team under pressure, they go back to the goalkeeper and let everyone get reset. Like that is just crazy to me. I don't understand any of that. But in terms of like, not necessarily from you guys, but I do think there is sometimes a snobbishness about, because there are less fashionable teams at the top of the league. All of a sudden, that's because the league isn't.
I'll tell you what mine is, Rick. I'll tell you straight away why I think. I'll tell you why I think the league's shit. 2 words: Manchester United. Right? We're in 6th. In what world is this club in 6th? In what world is this club? This club here. In what world are we in with Champions League at the moment? Regardless of the fact our club is in turmoil, we've just sacked the manager. We've played that's why I think the league is just this season. It's chaos. It's not shit. It's chaotic.
Yeah. It's like teams like, I mean, I won a Newcastle channel, but Sunderland, no one expected for them to do what they've done. And like I say, I mean, you look at some of the goals that Villa have scored this season. I mean, it's unbelievable the goals that we're scoring. Do you know what as well? It reminds me of the 92-93 season. Dan might remember this, when Villa came runners up. When
I sadly do.
We had Dean Saunders and Daly and Atkinson, and we scored pretty much a goal of the month every month. It was crazy the goals that we scored. And this season reminds me of that Villa team.
I agree with that. But this is obviously just a quick point on this, that actually the quality of the quality of footballers you've got in this day and age is nowhere near what it used to be 15, 20 years ago. You haven't got that same quality.
It's because they're not coached like that anymore, Charlie. They're not allowed to pick the ball up and take on 5 players and hit it.
And that's why people are like, as soon as anyone does a little bit of anything outside of the book or whatever.
David Cook. I'm not.
It's amazing, isn't it? It's like for example, Cherky. I think Cherky's a top player, right? But if there were more players expressing themselves, he wouldn't be perhaps getting as much praise or as plaudits as he is getting. But because there's not really that many Mavericks or that many creative players like that, players are having expressive-ness coached out of them. And that is why we're not seeing players like we used to see or football.
Absolutely.
I think it's a wider societal issue as well. Yeah. Is that there's a lot less people out on parks kicking a ball around playing football now, just in general. So they are heavily reliant. So we go back to when we were playing football. We were out with our mates kicking a ball around until it got dark, and then we were in. So it wasn't just about the training session on a Thursday night or a Tuesday night to hone your skills. You were honing your skills by repetition, by doing it naturally, by playing two-man copies with your mates and smashing balls into the net.
Or playing against the older kids. Playing against the older kids.
I saw the start of it. I saw the start of it because I went to school with Joe Hart, England goalkeeper. I was at the start, I think, where kids who were young playing football that people knew had a bit about them was stopped from doing that then. Stopped. Joe Hart was never allowed to play in goal for us in the school team in case he damaged his hands. Do you know? That's the thing, though. Like it got to a point where they started saying to kids, you ain't doing what you thought was fun anymore. This is now a business. You are now an asset to us. This is no longer, Roy of the Rovers, people doing, people, the fairy tale story. That's just the way football is now. That's just the way football is.
I don't know if you boys have watched it. There was an interview with John Joe Shelby that he talked about I think it's under the Kosh. It's called.
Is that the sleep? Was that the sleeping pills one?
It's that one. He talks about when he goes from Charlton to Liverpool, and he talks about when he signs his deal. They were actually in the playoffs to get promoted. And he was told he couldn't even train. He went out to train one day and they sent him back in. He wasn't even allowed to train. He wasn't allowed to play in the playoffs at all. He basically had to sit on his backside for 3.5 months because if he got injured, it might scupper the deal.
They were going to get a big money for him.
1.5 million rising to 3. Charlton was so desperate for that money that they couldn't possibly allow him to play. Now, that him probably getting them promoted could have generated them so much more money, but they were so desperate for that 1.5 million that he wasn't allowed to play. And that was back in John Joe Shelby's pretty much finished now. He's like 33 years old. Like
he's not finished. Do you remember that? He's not finished. But
all it does, it just adds to your point, Dan, and what you're saying they are massively, players are massively protected or held back from being able to express themselves. The likes of the Neymars and various other things. You look at Brazilian football now.
You don't see you watch videos of Ronaldinho, and like, you just shake your head at, like, you just think these kids now are never going to see a Ronaldinho.
Look at the
unbelievable
forwards in Brazil now. Like, the attacking players in Brazil. You know, you've got obviously Vinicius, Rodrigo. There's obviously
a certain striker for Brentford that Pete said nah, and I said he's quality.
Igor Thiago Brazilian, is he?
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
I love him.
Have you been called up to a squad yet?
Not yet. I might have been in the squad, but I don't think he's
not played. He's not made his debut, has he?
He's
I've got to shoot. But great chat.
Just one point on Villa before you go. You know,
are we winning the league? Yes.
That's all I wanted to hear.
You should have just literally gone yes and exited there. That would have been.
That's all I wanted to hear. Top man, Rich. Great to have you on, mate.
Cheers. See you later, boys. Bye.
Take care, mate. Yeah, you know what? Great chat all round. Just about so many different things going on with football at the moment, because they are important topics, absolutely, and it goes from the manager to the players right down to the academy. We've covered it all tonight. It's been absolutely.
This is what it's all about, though, Pete. And like the chat, big up the chat, because you've come for me quite a lot tonight with some of my opinions. But this is what this is all about. This is it. This is us in a pub talking through what we think about football. So big up to the chat, because regardless of the fact that some of you have called me not like me tonight, this is why we do this. This is why this is better than the pundits that are paid fucking stupid money, because you, me, sometimes Charlie, everyone else in this panel, Chris, Dan, we have opinions. This is our opinions, and this is what makes these channels incredible. So big up to the chat. They've been brilliant tonight.
Great word, opinions. Okay, because we'll end it on this. There are some serious games this week, midweek games. I want your opinions on what's going to happen in some of these games. So there's a big one tonight. There's a reason people asking why Wolfie's not in the chat. There's a massive relegation battle tonight. The only game that anybody wants to watch at 8:00. It's West Ham against Forest. Boys, I want your opinions. Daz, I'll start with you. What is going to happen in this game? Who's going to win? Who's taking the points? And who's getting relegated?
I'm not going to sit in the fence and say a draw. I think Forest are going to win, and West Ham are going down. Lawless, I see Lawless on Dan Potts. This is London. He's already thrown in the towel. But it all depends on this game for him. He's making.
Yeah, West Ham don't win this game, they're done. I mean, they're virtually done anyway. But if they lose tonight, they're definitely done.
What do you think, Charlie? What's the score?
Things I'd love to say West Ham, but they're just so bad. I think probably Forest nick it 1-0 or 2-1.
Dan, what are you going for, mate?
I'm going against the grain. I think West Ham. I think West Ham win. I think they're still sat Nuno. Massive love. I think they still sat Nuno even if they win, and I think that I think they get a manager. And I'm going to coin a Newcastle phrase here, but I would love it if Forest got relegated.
Oh, I
love Wolfie. I love Wolfie to death. I love that man, and that man is incredible. No, he doesn't. Wolfie off air is one of the nicest people you will ever meet. Yeah. But just to see it, oh my days. I don't think the relegation's done yet. I genuinely don't think relegation.
2 spots are. Wolves and Burnley are gone.
Yeah, but I think there's probably 2. I think there's 2 or 3, maybe 4. I think there's still a lot of football to be played, isn't there?
Yeah, there is.
So Daz, you went West Ham to get relegated. Yeah. Charlie, who did you go for at the 2?
What, to get relegated?
Yeah.
I'm going to go Forest because I want to speak it into existence, but it probably will be West Ham.
Dan, are you speaking it into existence?
I'm not. I don't need to. I just look. Nottingham Forest have been begging for manager bounces and they haven't had it yet. Same with West Ham, but West Ham I think West Ham has still got enough time with the transfer window. They're making signings. There's a lot wrong at Nottingham Forest, and I think more and more of it's going to come out. That's why they're playing so bad. I would like to see. Oh no, I love him, but sorry, Wolfie, I want to see Forest relegated. Just for the meltdown, you would get 1 million views. For that. You'd get 1 million views for that.
Yeah, absolutely. Chris, you missed it. We're just going through some matches. Obviously, big midweek starting tonight. West Ham against Forest. Just asking for what your score prediction will be and who you think is going to go down out of those two.
So tonight, I think Forest win 3-1, and I think I can't see past West Ham going down. I know, Dan, you made a great point there, saying Forest are trying to get out of it, but I'm still not convinced even by the signings that they're making. Like funnily enough, I looked at the lineup before. They're playing the new lads up front, aren't they? Castellanos?
Castellanos, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, let's see what happens. I also think it was an odd move. I retweeted it before. An odd move that they're just releasing Callum Wilson. But it kind of shows where their head's at, doesn't it? Because they bring him in with the idea, experience, notice the Premier League, etc., etc. And then all of a sudden it's like, yeah, you can go now. And it just feels a little bit too little, too late. That's how it feels to me. And when I've watched teams this season, like, not being funny, boys, Wolves have been absolutely atrocious. But for Wolves to beat West Ham 3-0
up until the last 5 games, though, Chris, we were shocking, so we deserve to lose against them. But they've been unlucky to lose the last couple. I mean, Arsenal, I thought they were fantastic. Liverpool, they put the performance in. When we played them and we absolutely spanked them, they were missing a lot of players. Again, this is the fairy tale side of me in football. Imagine if they just put a run together now and at least got themselves to ask the question. That's why we love football, lads. We love the romance side of it. That would be incredible. Rob Edwards, which would be knighted if he got them up from 2 points.
Yeah.
It could be someone outside as well, couldn't it? Because obviously we're looking at Forest and West Ham, but Wolfie's been banging that Bournemouth drum for a while, hasn't he? And even this, as Charlie mentioned earlier, it's so tight.
If West Ham win tonight, they go a point behind Nottingham Forest. They're then 5 points behind Leeds. 6 points behind Bournemouth. Yeah. Halfway through the season, lads, there's so much football to be played.
That opens it right up. Absolutely. We'll go then to Wednesday evening. In fact, we're all playing Wednesday evening. So, massive game at Craven Cottage, Charlie. Are you going to be there?
Of course I'm going to be there. Callum Mourinho's last game on the touchline. Liam Rossini, Matisse watching in the stands. We'll be there. We'll see what happens.
Are you winning? Because I remember last year we were as loaded out to watching your games very carefully in that race for Champions League, and
that was the one that
last minute Tyreek George goal to win the game.
George. We were losing for a long time, and then we got 2 goals in the last 10 minutes. George got the equaliser, and Neto smashed one in. That was really the turning point for us at the end of last season. That kind of put us on the run that got us the Champions League in the end. This will be a difficult game. It will be.
We got you Champions League, Charlie. We got you Champions League. We beat Villa.
Oh no, they beat Forest.
We beat Forest anyway.
It was out of us and Villa, so you got us Champions League.
Oh, I got you Champions League. I didn't get a pint on the 12 man. Instead, I just got horrible images seared into my brain because of a certain sound.
I didn't get you a pint, but you had a special dancer. In the name of Sam, that provided you with entertainment in the night.
Honestly, if Arsenal don't win the league, we've asked Dan Potts to show the video of Sam, who edits the videos for him, on the stream. Let me tell you something.
Yeah, he'll be done.
Imagine Magic Mike. In fact, no, don't imagine Magic.
No, don't do that. Yeah, just don't do that. Yeah.
Pete, what would you liken it to?
I couldn't possibly say, but it's something I never want to see again. And
you were next to him.
You were sat next to him. Bearing in mind, it was very early hours, so there's been a lot of drank at that point, and even then, I was still like, Nah, I need to go to bed now. I don't want to be seeing this at this time in the morning.
I don't know what was worse, his dancing or our Uber driver fucking off and leaving us at McDonald's in the middle of London. and Lawless just putting his hand in and grabbing a bag of. We've been waiting that long. Lawless went, fuck this. He just grabbed a bag from the Mackies and fucking did.
We're still alive. We're still alive. We don't want to get anyone in trouble here.
Allegedly.
We'll do a talk off. Allegedly.
I will stand up in a court of law and tell and say everything.
Brilliant. Okay, so are you winning, Charlie? Just to nail that one.
Yes, we'll win 2-1.
Okay. Next, we're going to Turf Moor. Now, place that we've just got 3 points.
I've got 3 points there as well.
3 points. Dan?
I've got 3 points against both of you, Charlie, so shush.
Not a Turf Moor, I haven't got 3 points.
I got 3 points against you, though.
You did, though, yeah.
We'll win tomorrow. We'll win. And do you know what? We'll win in spite of Amorim. That'll be the thing. The players, as much as the players have done their social media, thank you, boss, they're going to be unleashed tomorrow. They're not going to have this ridiculous 3-4-3. They're going to go back to the 4-2-3-1 and they'll win tomorrow. It won't be pretty. It's not. I'm not saying we're going to go there and demolish them, but I agree. Do you know what? Queen Sophie, who pops on my channel as well, she normally gets the scores bang on, and I'm in agreement with her today. I think 2-1 United.
2-1. Okay. And then, lads, I'm going to come to you because we've not got a match preview. We're going to go straight into the game and obviously react to the game afterwards tomorrow night. What we thinking? Newcastle United at home to Leeds. Leeds unbeaten in 7 in the league on some decent form. Obviously, drew with Man United at Ellen Road in the last game. Are we winning?
Yeah, we're winning 2-1.
Just mark Okafor out of the game. He was incredible against us. Just Okafor. Mark him out the game. Mark him out the game.
Calvert-Lewin's been decent recently as well. He's been scoring a few goals.
He should have scored against us. He hit the post.
Yeah.
What's it now? Is it like 7 in 7? I think he scored.
Six in it.
Yeah, he scored in
a couple
consecutive games. Yeah, but he's doing pretty well.
Okay, so Daz, you're in for the win for Newcastle 2-1. Chris, what we thinking?
2-0. I think we're 2-0.
Oh, another clean sheet. I'll take that.
Yeah, definitely.
I think it will be. I think both teams will score. I think Newcastle will win 3-1.
Sophie?
Yes. Oh, hey, if Sophie's right, we'll take it. As long as
you need to get her on the Ackers. She seems to call them bang, bang, bang.
Yeah, maybe so. But we've got all fixtures nailed down. We'll leave the other teams for now, but it's we'll wrap up because we are getting close to that big kickoff, lads, and I know we're all going to be wanting to watch the game and the watch-alongs very, very closely.
And on that note, Pete, if you stay on the stream, you'll be directed into Wolfie's watch-along. So just we won't play a tune out. We'll just go in stream.
You've
got to pepper it with Dai Shin. You've got to pepper the chat.
Dai Shin. Okay, that's the. I was gonna say loaded raid, but actually Dai Shin's better.
Dai Shin.
Everyone,
Dai Shin loaded raid.
Chat straight into Wolfie. Dai Shin. There we go. Right there. Hashtag Dai Shin. I'm gonna go and do it now.
I'm gonna do it now.
We're all gonna do it now. You go do it now on Wolfie's channel. Dice in. He'll know the loaded chat is in the house. People, we're out of here. Great chat tonight. And we'll be back for more next week.
Nice one, lads.
Later, people.
Take care, boys.